Welcome to the Write Your Own Story podcast. I'm your host, Betsy Leonidas, and the founder of the Write Your Own Story company. Girl, I can tell you right now, you are definitely enough. Here we value service, sisterhood, connection, laughter, and that super genuine, keep it real, tell you like it is honesty. My hope is at the end of each episode, you realize you can do whatever it is you dream about and that you are not alone with what you struggle with. I'm hoping that you are snapping and clapping and hell yes in your way through each one of these episodes. So if this tracks with you, let's get started. I'm so glad you're here. All right, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of the Write Your Own Story podcast. I'm your host, Betsy Leonidas, and I'm here with my friend, Emily May from House by Emily on Instagram.
Yeah, House by Emily May.
Isn't it amazing that I only half know the name because I just it pops up. I'm like, yeah, I want to watch your content. But It's once you have to actually think about what it's called. But I am so excited to have you. You are my first business guest, and I geek out on talking life and business.
Yeah.
And I think you and I'm from such similar backgrounds.
Yeah.
Which and we just I don't know, I feel like we've just been connected for so long.
Yes.
And Insta fans and Insta friends and then real life friends and borderline professional friends. And
Right.
it's just been this cool common thread along the way. So thank you for being here.
Of course. I'm happy to be.
I want to really quick start off with the intention of the episode. So I am really excited to have you for a million reasons because we have a lot in common and I love how you show up in the world. But I think getting back to the point of that you and I come from similar backgrounds. So we both were advertising girls, brand builders, lived the corporate life, and then have stepped aside and started our own businesses. Yes. So I have such a sweet spot for those out there who were us 5 years ago that are, highly educated, highly functioning corporate people and highly educated, super smart moms that are just there's something more in me that I need to go do. And so many of us don't know how to do it. You have to be brave. There's so many things to it. And so I love telling these stories because I know that people are going to leave this episode feeling inspired, feeling more confident, and just super excited to know you. So this is going to be so fun.
Yeah. Thanks for having me here.
You're so welcome. Okay. So how I know Emily, gosh, I guess really it's Instagram to start, right?
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think we've only actually met one time in person.
And it was
just one time.
I think it might have been the one time. It was when, so I went to long story because I don't know how to tell any other stories, but after I had Ethan and Alex, so that was 4 kids, 4 and under, I was at an amazing job, but they wanted me to come back full time. And I was like, it's literally just not an option. So I started consulting and was just, tapping into networks in town. And it was awesome, but it's really stressful to line up gig after gig. So I started looking to go back full time and I met you.
Yeah.
And it was one of these moments where you were like, what are you doing? And I was like, you're right. What am I doing? And
did I say, what are you doing?
You didn't.
Those words.
I think you literally
I hope I said it better.
No, you literally, which I hope you said it just as direct as that, because that's how we got to be. I swear you literally said, I mean, God, this was a long time ago, but I think you literally said, why are you doing this? Yeah. And I was like, I don't know. Why am I doing this? And it was such a pivotal moment. And every time I get tempted, actually, I don't get tempted anymore at all to go back full time and to go back into the corporate world. But I think of that conversation and this is what women are for. These are the strong nudges from, I know you cared about me and you were like, what are you doing? You're doing it. You're doing the thing that we all want to do. Don't give up.
Yeah. Right.
And it was so amazing.
Well, yeah. Cause you were doing the thing that I wanted to be doing at the time. And I'm like, wait, you escaped. Don't come back.
I totally did.
But I'm trying to send you
you were literal flare gun. Yeah. What are you doing?
Right.
And I am so grateful for that. I mean, there are amazing companies out here. The one you worked at is awesome.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but we were building a different life for ourselves.
Yes.
And you were the absolute honest truth North Star that I needed to hear in that moment. You're like, what are you doing? I was like, I don't know. I've made a wrong turn, haven't I? And you're like, go back.
Yeah.
So thank you.
You're welcome.
You saved me. Because it's so tempting to go back on the corporate wheel and benefits and not for us. No, not anymore.
No.
Yes. Okay. So that's how we know each other, but I'm going to let you take it. I would love to let the listeners, viewers, all the people out there know just more about you, how you started, just all the things, mom life, anything you want to share.
Yeah. So I started my corporate career right out of college.
Mm-hmm.
and in like the marketing advertising world.
Yep.
And I worked at 2 agencies, and I worked at both for total, I get the total length of time was around 15 years. I was 15 years into a corporate career.
I mean,
And
yeah, you were all in.
I was all in. I was on the planes. I was in the pantsuit. I was
in the boardroom.
I was doing, extinguishing all the fires.
Late night pitches.
Oh my God. Late night pitches. Managing lots of people. Like I was all in.
Yeah.
And at the time, on the side as like I just need to also be creative.
Yeah.
On the side, I had a blog called Go House Go.
Yeah.
That I started in like 2010 or 2011. And I had a little house that I had bought in Covington right out of college. And it was 800 square feet.
I love that.
And it was just like my project house. And it was my creativity outlet. And I would just do projects and post about them. And I was doing that quite a lot. I mean, I didn't have kids yet.
Yeah.
So I had more time.
Yeah.
Than I do now.
Yeah.
And I was like posting 3 times a week. Like it just became this thing.
Yeah. I love that. What got you into design? Was this just sort of like, were you a DIYer, figure it out, YouTube it, and like you have like obviously a great design sense, but like is it just kind of something that's always been in you? Like how did we get to the love of home?
It's always been in me.
Cool.
Always.
Yeah.
Think about even when I was little, I had like the little Polly Pocket with the little house. I was interested in setting up the rooms.
Yeah.
I was redecorating and organizing and rearranging my room.
That makes my
every
heartstrings
week.
sore. I love organizing.
So I was doing that from when I was little.
Yeah.
And so it was always a part of me.
Yeah.
And I knew that. And I knew I was interested in it. I had bought this house. I had no money right out of college.
Right.
And so I was just doing these fun little projects.
Yeah.
And I get such a thrill over like, oh, it would have cost me X amount of dollars to pay a professional.
Yes.
But I figured out how to do it myself.
And you're not like figuring out how to do peel and stick wallpaper. I've seen you on the internet. You are saws and hammers and stain and like, I mean, you are heavy machinery. I'm like, get it, girl.
That took some time to get up to that point. But
okay, that's fair. But still, that's pretty badass. Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks. Well, and so it was just always in me.
Yeah.
And the blog got to a point where I was like, okay, this could be something.
Yeah.
But I also wasn't exactly sure that usually the next step when you have a blog that did well at the time was like you become an influencer.
Right.
You're posting links on Instagram and you're right. That doesn't really come super natural to me.
I totally
like
understand.
I very rarely put myself on my Instagram. I'm usually just posting photos of rooms and things.
Yeah.
And so that did not feel like a good natural step.
Yeah.
But what did feel like a more natural step is taking on clients, because my whole career has been client service.
Yes.
And that comes very naturally to me.
I love that.
And that's something that, yes, it's a different industry, marketing to design, but I'm doing the same thing.
Same principles,
What
totally.
a client wants, and I'm helping them get that.
Yeah.
And
but you're owning the whole process, soup to nuts.
Yeah.
Oh, that's super cool.
Right. And so over time, the design gigs started to become very frequent, to the point where I had like 2 full-time jobs.
So wait, you were literally doing design clients and your whole corporate life?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I was a senior VP and then also had a full-time design business on the side.
Did you have kids yet? Had kids come into the picture yet?
I had 3 kids under the ages of 2.
Oh my God.
And
this is just what we do though. We are built the same way.
That's not a brag. I was not like a healthy person.
I get it. Yes. Okay.
At all.
So like if you could rewind, would you do it differently?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would have quit a lot sooner than I did.
Okay. So everyone out there who is listening, just quit. Like save the nest egg. Give yourself, like I like to, in this business planner that I developed, because I've had so many women ask me, how do you start a business? Yeah. And like, to start of like, where can I quit and where can I do this full time? Like I just kind of back into what is the dollar amount that I need to replace?
Yes.
Is it a full-time salary, or is it 3/4? Or is it, you're fortunate enough to have dual income and that makes, in your particular situation, this is rhetorical, comfortable enough where you're like, okay, I just need to really replace my Amazon habit for a while because that's really taking the family down. And I'm going to build this business
Right.
and then I'm going to be dual income again. But I know that that takes time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it took me so long to feel like I was in a good enough place where I could quit.
What do you think that was?
It was
because?
just mental.
Yeah.
It was just mental. The fear. It's my whole life. Like, I remember on your last episode, you guys were talking about, like, I did all the right things.
I know.
I know. Like, I went to school, I got the degree, I got all the cool internships.
Mhm.
Like, I worked the job, I climbed the ladder, I did all the things.
Yep.
And then you get to where you think you should be going and you're like, oh no,
I know.
And
like, I really loved advertising. And like, I knew from a young age that I wanted to do advertising. I was like literally reading a YM magazine. I was like, I know why the secret deodorant is next to this article. And oh my God, it's in the middle. I bet that costs more money. Like, that's just how I'm built. But then you do kind of have these moments where like, and I think this is another thing for our generation where like reinvention, I almost feel like kind of had like a bad taste in its mouth. Like, I've been so many different versions of me.
Yeah.
And like, that's just my path. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, I've done different blogs on different topics because people like us just have a lot of different interests. And I hope that like this kind of demystifies the fact that you can do something and be all in and then come up for air and be like, whoops.
Yes.
And that's okay.
And I did not realize that.
Yeah.
I struggled with that.
Same.
I thought like, well, this is who I said I was going to be at 19.
Yes. So I must be the best.
I'm just going to barrel through.
Yeah, totally. That's the perfect way to put it. Oh my God.
Like, what was I think? Like, as if I had no choice.
Right.
Like, I truly felt like, no, my passion isn't how I make money. My passion is like something that I do to like recover from how I make money.
Yes. Oh my God. Like literally reset the soul.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so I remember so clearly kind of my breaking point was, and it was at this time where, because about a year prior, I had set goals. Like, I need to have this much money in the bank.
Yeah.
You know, I talk about my moat.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the princess in the castle.
Okay.
And I need to have a really big moat so that
I love that.
those monsters cannot come get me.
Yeah.
Like, my moat was in great condition.
Yep. That a girl.
But I was still terrified and I did not leave. And I remember I was in Minnesota for a client meeting and I had spent all day with my corporate mask on.
Yep.
Because I was good at faking it.
Sure.
And I had my corporate mask on all day. I was exhausted. I was so over it.
Yeah.
I had 3 little kids at home that I was not with. And I dropped my travel buddy off at her hotel and she was even senior than I was. So I really had my mask on that
for sure.
day.
You were like, exhausted. I am buttoned up.
And she gets out of the car, goes to the hotel, and then I just start bawling my eyes out. And the Uber driver is like, everything okay?
Uber driver / therapist.
Yeah, well, I ended up just bearing my soul.
Oh my God, this is amazing. I feel like this is from a sitcom or something. In Minnesota.
It was like February in Minnesota.
Oh my
I had like
God.
my boots on.
You're like, can you please hold me?
Well, I guess I have a trip anyway. But anyway, and he was like, oh my gosh, yesterday I just stepped away from a 20-year career as a personal trainer.
Oh my gosh. I have goosebumps.
And I was like, tell me more.
Yeah.
And he was like, I did it for so long, but I did not have the heart to do it.
Yeah.
And I let it go. And it was the scariest thing I've ever done because it's all I've ever known.
Yep.
And I had created a name for myself. And here I am driving an Uber.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know what? Here I am 24 hours later. And it's already the best decision I ever made.
Oh my God, I'm going to cry. Oh, that's so amazing. Yeah. This is how the universe put that person right in your lap, right in the front seat to be like, hello, I've been telling you, hang up the mask.
Yes.
But sometimes those of us
this is a sign,
who barrel through, sometimes you need the big old flashing neon signs of an Uber driver being like, I just did what you did and I've never been happier.
Right.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What a cool moment.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, like just to know someone else that has done it
I love that. Yep.
is so comforting.
Yeah.
And I actually had dinner that night with a friend from here who had moved to Minnesota, and that was just such a great conversation as well, because she also just reminded me of how I used to be before the corporate
Yep.
monster got a hold of me.
Yeah.
And so that was amazing. And then I came home and COVID happened.
Yeah.
The next month in March, and just having that time home and having that distance from the office was really enlightening as well, because I started to feel like my old self a little bit again. I wasn't traveling. I wasn't doing all these things. And I made a plan that in June, I was going to leave.
Yeah.
And 2 days before I made that call to my supervisor, I found out I was pregnant with my fourth.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Plot twist.
Plot twist.
Oh my God.
Big plot twist.
Big old plot twist. You're like, my moat now has a baby in it.
Yeah. So, and I was like, you know what? Everything is going to be fine. Because at that point, like I had such a good pipeline of design work going.
Yeah, that feels good.
That it felt good.
Yeah.
And if anything, being pregnant and not having to stress about travel. I mean, I was traveling through 2 pregnancies, my twin pregnancy, and
which is no joke. It's even hard to be pregnant to get yourself organized to get into the office.
Right.
You're like, oh my God, just to put yourself together, to not throw up, to like all the things.
Yes.
Let alone travel. But travel's the worst. Ugh. Yes. Okay. I feel you completely. So yeah. So you're like, I don't have to do this.
I don't have to do this. And if anything, my fourth baby, Rory, he was kind of like my, he was like, what a better reason to leave.
Beautiful. Absolutely.
And so I did.
Yep. Absolutely.
I told my husband I'm pregnant.
Oh my God.
By the way,
I'm kidding. How's your husband?
He's amazing. He's amazing.
Okay. After that,
he's so supportive.
He seems like a really awesome guy.
He's so supportive. He gets me. I mean, it's like his thing is stability.
Yeah,
you know?
Totally. I respect
and so
that for
me
sure.
to leave a stable job
and bring in another child when you already have so many little ones
felt very unstable.
Sure. Yeah.
And so but it's like for him, he sees the work that I'm doing and and he sees my calendar and he knows that I'm busy. And so he's super supportive.
I love that. And I know that this man can tell the difference between the light that you are when you're in your zone versus the corporate version of you.
Oh,
100%. So that's one thing I want to drill in on for a little bit. That sounded really corporate, didn't it? Let's drill into that.
Let's do it double click.
Let's double click on that. It's still in there somewhere, you guys. You better watch out. But for those listening who are in corporate or at home or just in a situation where they're thinking about making a change, and you talked a lot about the old version of you and your friend in Minnesota who knew that old version of you versus the version that you were now, like, besides the fact that you were like this really creative person and now you're doing like really corporate things in a creative field, like what does that feel like on the inside so that people can maybe recognize that for themselves? Because I feel like I really lost myself.
Yeah.
And the light got dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. And I worked harder and harder. And like, I just felt like I never took a breath. But like, I want to be able to, I want someone listening or watching this to be like, oh God, that's definitely me, to like, for this to be that Uber driver moment for them.
Right. Just like, well, and it's for me, the signs for me is that you mean the signs like that I'm dying a little inside.
Totally. Or that, like you talked about how like being in this corporate career just kind of changed who you were.
Yeah.
And that like, and I mean, granted, we all grow and now you're a mom. There's a lot of factors, but like when you're like, I need to return to who I am, like how did that feel different? Or how did you know that like that you were all of a sudden not who you or you weren't able to be who you totally were? Like, how do people recognize that?
Oh man. And I brushed so much of that off, not really thinking about what that was. But looking back, I mean, I remember there were probably a good 2 years where I never wore makeup.
Yeah.
And for me, I love makeup.
Right. Makeup's so fun.
Makeup's so
It's
fun.
literally so fun.
I mean,
Mhm.
for
Yes.
someone who hits like Sephora
Oh my God.
rouge status in like March,
Can you please take my daughter? She's literally obsessed. Rouge status. She's going to be your rouge status swing woman.
for someone
Yes.
to not wear makeup for 2
Yeah.
years
Yeah.
was like, and at
Yes.
the time I'm like, I'm just busy. Like, I
Right.
just need to cut that step out. Like,
Right. Right. When you were
that
cutting
was a
it,
big sign. Something I love to do.
yes. And you're cutting it out.
Yes.
And not only is it like fun and you love to do it, it is like such a self-care kind of thing too.
Yes.
Because it's just moments with yourself where you're taking care of yourself, doing something that you love.
Yeah.
When those things get cut, and it's hard raising babies.
Yeah.
So many things get cut. And like you don't really have time to come up for air. And your kids are super close together. Like my kids are super close together.
Yeah.
It's not for the faint of heart, but like
No.
also completely obsessed. Like,
Yes.
and I know you are too.
Yeah.
Like literally obsessed. But like, don't you want your kids to know the real version of you?
I know.
Mhm.
I know. And so that was a big one.
Yeah.
The other one was I just felt myself I was grasping for any opportunity to connect with more of my true self. So an example would be I'd be traveling on a work trip and, you go to the kiosk to get your snacks before the flight. And
Yeah.
my coworkers would be getting, the Wall Street Journal
Right.
and the marketer's report or whatever it
Uh-huh.
was.
Yep.
And I was like sneakily trying to grab like HGTV Home.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
You're like, I'm going to put this on the side of the Wall Street Journal. No one's going to see what I really love.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And the fact that you even have to hide that or feel like you have to hide that, because that is one of the harder parts about corporate culture. It's like, who can return the email faster? Who can be more on top of it? Who can say yes for it?
Who is using every opportunity to improve themselves. And
can we just be?
There was another one where we had this subscription to this like skill service, right? Where we had access to all different types of workshops with the intention being like, take the class on like how to write a brief,
right?
Or
so fun.
How to spiff up your PowerPoints. But I was like clicking into like the space planning class.
That's so awesome.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So I was so hungry to just grab like a few minutes where I could be more myself.
It truly sounds undeniable.
Yeah.
It's like you get no minutes to yourself. In those few minutes, you're like, I just need to be inspired.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's like the sign for me was, gosh, really every moment that I had, I did something completely different.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
That's probably a big sign.
There might be a disconnect.
Yeah.
And I feel like now more than ever, like, social media and all that stuff comes with all of its complications, but it makes doing things like this so accessible. So like, okay, so let's talk for a minute. If I want to make sure we hit a couple of things, like how did you, yes, you had your moat and you had a financial goal, but like really, truly, like, how did you find clients? Because I think people have a really hard time figuring out like where to start.
Yeah.
And it sounds like having clients locked in was like a really important thing for you to start. Like, were there things that you're like, besides your moat, which is a big one for sure, but like, what else did you need before you were like, okay, I can do this? Or did you just start and then figure it out?
So how I got clients, it's kind of been like, well, two ways. One of them was I had been running this blog.
Right.
And I had social media and I was already doing all this stuff. I never, ever mentioned a word of my corporate job.
Yeah.
In any of that.
Yeah.
No one
true.
knew.
Yeah.
Unless they looked me up on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
No one knew. And so
You're like Batman.
I did. I felt like I had like a secret life.
Totally.
And so a lot of my initial clients came from like followers, blog followers.
Awesome.
Especially if they were local.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so then people are having also, it's so hard to show up on social. And I love in your industry that like so often, even like now I feel like, do you feel like people are kind of like moving away from blogs? I still blog because I think like I like the long form content. But like when I think about your industry, it almost feels like portfolio.
Yeah.
I don't know. How are you finding success on social? Because you have a great social following. Your content is awesome and your work is beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
But like you can post beautiful things, and it's still hard to find people.
Yeah.
So
Right.
like, you know, how do you, I think that like just kind of piggybacking off of like, okay, you got this great, like, which is, and it takes time, I'm sure. You're
Yes.
blogging for a while, but for those, I feel like a lot of people like to dabble into sort of these creative things where I'm wondering also if like word of mouth is another big way that you grow at this point, because you just have so many referrals
Yes.
and people are like, I love what you did with your house. And you're like, well, you got to check out Emily because she's the jam.
Yeah.
But
right.
like, you know, how does, for someone just starting, like I have a friend who actually just left Google and he is starting his like own high-end interior design business in Miami. And like, he's so talented and he's already got clients like crazy. He's just like you. I mean, he's just like, he doesn't mess around, but like, I love looking at his Instagram and we talk about social all the time because we also work together in corporate and advertising. And so I'm like, I always think about these portfolio type businesses, or maybe it's not portfolio. Maybe I'm thinking about it wrong, but basically like, how do you show up online and how do you like use that to actually serve your business versus just show up on the internet?
I mean, my social media, I think it's absolutely my portfolio.
Yeah.
That is absolutely how I think about it.
Yeah.
I just think it's gotten to the point that as people are starting to think about hiring someone like me, they absolutely have to have an online presence.
Absolutely. Yes.
That is so important. It's my credibility, really.
Yeah.
And so I have that mindset as I post.
Yes.
And so really, and that's where like my brand strategy brain comes in too,
Right.
where everything that I post has to be aligned with my brand.
Yep. I love that.
And it's approachable and attainable.
Yes.
And friendly.
And like gorgeous. Hello.
Thanks.
Literally.
And I love photography. Photography, like interior.
Do you take your own photos?
I take all my own photos.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
I am for sure they were professional.
No, they're me.
Do you have a fancy camera?
No, it's my iPhone.
Stop it.
It's my iPhone.
Oh my God. We're going to do a whole how to take pictures something because people need those skills.
Yeah. That's been huge. I mean, you can design a beautiful room, but if you can't take a photo of it,
forget about it.
It's hard.
It is hard. Yeah.
And I'm so hyper independent. I don't ever want to have to rely on a photographer.
I get it. And it's a huge expense.
Well, and I think about my style of interior design to call up the client and be like, hey, my photographer is going to come over and take photos of your completed room. Like that's a terrifying thing to say to someone.
Oh yeah.
It's just very intimidating.
Yeah.
And so, but if I say like, hey, like, thanks so much for the project. Like I'll come and like, I'll bring them a plant or like something.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for them.
Of course.
And then for me to just like take a few photos while I'm there.
That's so
it's just so much more approachable.
I love that. And so let's talk about your brand for a second too, because like literally everybody run to the internet if you're not an already follower. But like tell me about how you sort of have like niche down. Sorry, I'm corporate again. But like basically there's a lot of designers out there and you very much like you have a lane and it's yours. It's literally just you. You like, I think that even if like, okay, so you keep going, but like I really appreciate how specific you are.
Yeah. Well, and I think this comes back to all my years spent in brand strategy. It's like, my job was, what do people want? And do they have something that fulfills that want? And with interior design, there was a big gap in providing services for folks who don't have a huge budget. Mm-hmm. They want to do a lot of it themselves. Mm-hmm. They want to learn.
Yeah.
And they need help. And for me, I came in and I said, man, like interior designers have a lot of them have a very intimidating reputation.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how I think of an architect. Like even now I'm still scared to call architects. Like, oh gosh, like, you're so smart.
I'm pretend. You are not pretend, but I always feel pretend. I'm like, I'm on a podcast. I'm pretend.
But for a lot of folks, interior designers just have this like reputation of like, oh my gosh, they're going to come into my house and they're going to say everything is ugly. And they're going to like say I'm cheap and like, they're going to be mean to me.
I can never afford the pillows. No,
they're so expensive. I know. And so I was like, that is not at all who I am as a person.
No,
I am not. I am the person who, if you invite me to Soto, I'd be like, okay, fine. But if you invite me to Taco Bell, I'd be like, hell yeah.
I love that. Oh my God. It's amazing.
Right. And that
just
probably comes from years of client dinners. But anyway.
That's fair. That's how I feel about karaoke.
Oh
So much karaoke.
What was it with the karaoke?
I don't know. It was like the early 2000s, and clients, all they wanted to do was karaoke.
Yeah.
I was like, can we please stop?
Go to karaoke, go to Soto.
Yeah.
I love Soto, but I
Me too.
can't
Right.
anymore because it's
Right.
PTSD.
I know.
Anyway,
Yeah.
and so
Approachable.
What's that?
Approachable.
Yeah. And so I just really wanted to kind of bring how I felt about interior design to other people.
Yeah.
And so I created these services that say, hey, I'm going to come in and I'm going to space plan for you. And I am going to put together a design for you. And I'm going to put together some like options for you. So like sofa options and maybe some pillow options or whatever it might be.
Yes.
But I'm not going to source it from places that seem inaccessible to you.
Yeah.
I am going to source it from Target.
Yeah.
From World Market.
You are my people.
From Pottery Barn.
Yes.
And we're going to spend money on the things that make sense to spend money, but we're going to go affordable on things that we just don't really, it's just not worth the money.
Ooh. Do you have a favorite? What's worth the money and what's not worth the money categorically?
Yes. What's worth the money are the things that are just going to be used every day.
Yeah.
And so I will spend the money on a sofa.
Okay, cool.
But I'm never going to spend money on curtains. I'm never going to spend money on pillows.
I love that.
I'm never going to spend money on,
what about lighting?
Yeah, I'm going to spend money on lighting.
I think
it's like jewelry.
Yeah. Jewelry for the home. Oh my God. I just got so excited.
And so I just started to bring this service where, and it's like, I'm going to give you all of that information. I'm going to give you the links.
Yeah.
These are places that you're comfortable with already and you're familiar with. I'm going to give you the sizes that you need, and you can purchase it all tomorrow.
Yeah.
You can wait to shop the sale whenever you're ready.
Yeah.
You could do it over time, just as your budget allows.
Yeah.
Or a lot of what people do is say, okay, Emily wants me to get like a Emerald Great sofa.
Yeah.
I'm just going to see what's available. Like I'm going to pop into Home Goods and see what they have. Yeah. And I'm not going to buy the green one that she suggested, but I'm going to just use that as guidance for me as I shop. And I'm cool with that. Like I have no,
it's not precious.
It's not precious.
Yeah.
What's precious to me is giving someone the plans and the tools that they need to create the space.
Awesome. So you're able to just be the consultant and then sometimes execute if the project needs it. But like that way, so I'm like, that way you're ensuring that you're being paid for the value that you provide.
Right.
Again, for those who are like, okay, I want to do a service, but like, how do you differentiate between that you can charge for time and you can also charge for like tangible things as well, which I don't know if you do, but for anyone who's starting a business, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, and really I'm really just charging for my time to put it together.
Yeah.
Because once the plan is done, then I send it off.
That's
and
awesome.
That might be the last time that there's a touch point between myself and the client.
Yeah.
Or in some cases where they're like, hey, like I'm about to hang this on the wall.
Yeah.
Like remind me where does it go?
Yeah.
Then I'll assist. But
that's
for the most part, like my job is the design.
Yeah.
And then the client is responsible for execution.
That's an amazing business model.
It's been amazing.
Yeah.
It has been, and for people who I have learned in like the psychology of interior design is most people want to do this themselves.
Oh, that's cool. I do.
They want to learn it.
Yeah.
There is some shame in that they can't figure it out, or
it's
they
hard.
feel like they can't.
Yeah.
And of course they say that, and then I show up and it's like beautiful. I'm like, okay, you know what you're doing. But to be the person that can give them the tools and to say like, here's your path.
Yeah.
And however you walk down that path is up to you, but this is what guides you. That's just been really great.
That's so wonderful.
Yeah.
And like, I think one thing that really strikes me is it's almost like you are serving your younger self who wanted to love this and learn it and figure it out. And you did figure it out. And now you can turn to people behind you and be like, okay, this is how you space plan. I will help you source all this. Like I too loved this. I didn't have the capacity or whatever. And I think when we talk about from like brand building and really defining what you offer and how you show up, it's because you're so tightly woven to who your customer might be.
Right.
And I think that like, that's one of the things, especially for social, but also as people build out their offerings or their services or, you know, whatever they're going to make and sell on Etsy. Like it's not just, it is so much about what you love and how you show up, but it's understanding who you serve and being like emotionally connected to that.
Exactly right.
Yeah,
exactly right.
I think that makes a huge difference. Like I am literally obsessed in love with those who want to do what we did and leave their current construct, whether it be a stay-at-home mom because their kids are a little bit more grown and they have things that are just kind of like, you know, they're constantly secretly buying the HGTV magazines and want to get into design, or they love stationery and want to start selling stuff on Etsy or whatever it may be, or a corporate person who wants a side hustle to maybe be a full-time.
Right.
I don't know. There's so many of us out there with so many things that we want to do. And, you know, I hope we're all over that we have to do it all, because you would have still been in corporate and running a full-time design business because you had to do it all. You're doing so much in the buckets that fill you up.
Right. Right. Exactly. And I always tell people, just those that come to me for advice, like, I want to do this other thing.
Yeah.
Like, how do I do it?
Yeah.
And the biggest advice that I can give, and this was advice that was given to me early on by someone who I consider like a mentor and a friend, he said, just write down your fears. Just write them down. Mm-hmm. And then right next to it, right? Like, what is the solution to that fear?
Yeah.
And for me, all of my fears were, am I going to, and now saying this now, I'm like, oh my gosh, why was that a fear? But one of them was like, am I going to lose momentum in this career that I've created?
No,
and now
these
like,
all fears. There's so many. Fear is like,
I know,
it is the root of all the problems.
That was one.
Yeah.
Money was another one.
Sure.
Just things like that. And it all came back to, Emily, like if any of these fears were to come true, you could just get a job.
Right. There's always another option.
You could just go back and you could.
You're so right.
And I was like, oh my gosh.
It's liberating.
It is liberating to know that, you know, you think you're going to jump off a cliff.
Right. It's really not.
And it's really not.
I agree.
So that was big too. Just to know that my world is really not going to crash down as much as I thought it was. So I always tell people that, like, write down your fears.
I love that.
And write down the solution. And you will find that the solution is generally pretty easy to access.
Yes. I think that my strategy is, I love the write down your fear. And then like, what is the simplest solution?
Yeah.
Just know that there is a simple solution out there. Like it doesn't have to be like, maybe there's a better solution that's more complicated, but there is a simple option.
Yes.
I think it's so important. Mindset is everything for starting and running a business. And that wavers all day, every day for like, you know, it's like, I'm doing it. I'm dying. I'm doing it. I'm like, I'm great. I suck. Like it's just, but that was the same in corporate. So why not do it for yourself if that's really what you want to do? And there's always a simple answer. And like my mantra for 2024 is like, what if it all works out? Like
what?
Right.
I love that. I love that you said that.
Yeah. Like even if the business crashes and burns, to your point, you're still going to be just fine. There's always another option. It's all going to work out.
100%.
I love this. I'm obsessed with this. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about your 4 babies and you've got them running around at home.
Yes.
You are like deep in design work. Like balance is not a real thing. Like in my opinion, maybe I'm wrong. Someone could teach me how to do it, but like kind of what systems do you put in place to be able to run your own business? And like, how do you take care of yourself? Girl, you're back in makeup.
I am. Well, gosh, the work-life balance thing is it's still something that I struggle with. It's hard. And I think that was like a big learning for me, because I thought, oh, I'm going to leave my corporate job, which gave me a ton of flexibility, and my work-life balance thing is going to be solved. Like,
right.
tidy.
Tight.
It's all going to be perfect. Yeah. Famous last words.
Famous
it was not perfect. It's still really hard.
Yeah. It's so hard to peel yourself away from your own business.
Yes. Yes. And I feel like you and I are very similar in that we love to just get a notebook and get the to-dos down and hammer through it. And
there's always a new idea. I've got to take my pens away. Someone please hide all my pens. But then what did we DM about the other day? We're like, my life is an actual dumpster fire. I'm going to go buy a new notebook and pens. Right. Everything's going to be fine.
That's going to fix
That's
it all.
it. I'm all fixed. I got it.
Yeah.
Fresh paper. Here we go. Yeah.
Well, and that has been so tricky to figure out because I have 4 kids.
Yeah, you do.
I've got 8-year-old twins, a 6-year-old, and my 2-year-old. He'll be 3 in a few weeks.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and so
and
my 2-year-old he's still home with my husband and I. My husband also works from home.
Awesome.
And so it has been so tricky.
Yes.
And
2 is so hard. And adorable, literally adorable, but also like, oh my God, please stop trying to kill yourself.
Yes, it's just like constant management.
Yes.
Constant.
Yes.
Constant.
Right.
And so as I start to think about like what I want my business to be and what I want my home life to be, it is so tricky because I feel like those two, like, they clash.
Yes.
They truly clash.
Yeah.
And what I have learned is when I think about business goals and what I want my business to be and what I want to accomplish, anytime that I set like big growth or big money as one of my goals, I am miserable as a mother.
Yeah. I get that completely.
And I don't know if it will always be this way. I've got little kids.
Yeah.
But for now, I've just said, like, with my business, whatever will be, will be. Now, granted, there needs to be money that's coming in.
Something tells me that when you take your eye off the big, I have these big goals, and you just do the work you love, the big goal, all of a sudden, you're like, oops, there's the money.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's when I'm intentionally chasing the big growth.
And it's like this self-implied pressure. I'm speaking for myself, but I know we're so similar that it's like, I'm like, okay, let me break down how to crush this big goal. And like, I'm going to have to lean in here and there. And then I am also miserable as a mother because I haven't hit my goal yet.
Right.
And I'm like, I have nothing until I hit my goal, which is a whole problem.
No, Betsy, I honestly cannot write down goals.
I love that.
I cannot.
Yeah.
Because if I do, if I have a note in my phone with goals on it, I become a monster.
Obsessed, right?
I won't let up until every single thing is accomplished.
I know.
I might not have eaten in 6 weeks. My husband may not have seen me for 6 weeks. My children wonder if I'm still alive.
Yeah.
But I will meet those goals.
Hell yeah.
And so that is something that I cannot do because I am not healthy with that at all.
I love that. Put that boundary on yourself and like, look at your business. It's still phenomenal.
Yeah. And so I've just said like my goals right now are to the thing that I'm most focused on in this season of life is just being proud of myself as a mother.
Oh, I love that. Yes.
That's all I care about.
Yes.
And I've learned that the business does just fine.
Yeah. Right. Because you are driven and you love your work and it is a true passion of yours. So like you do make the time for it, but you've got your priority, which is to love your life as a mom.
Yes.
And that is what this career change has really afforded you is the flexibility, I think, to be able to do that.
Oh, it's been huge.
Yeah.
And I remember at my job, I felt like I had this storm coming for me, which was my kids were entering like preschool age and school age. And the thought of like, well, who's going to pick them up at 3?
Literally, who's going to pick them up at 3?
Who's going to pick them up? In the summer, where are they going to go?
Right.
And so I was like, I want that to be me.
Same. I wanted that to be me too.
And so, like I'm preparing for the storm and I'm going to freaking be there.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, totally. And that I think I'm also a huge proponent because God, you put it so well. Like to be so hyper focused on a goal means that your whole life revolves around the goal.
Yes.
Where like the goal has to support, I'm a big proponent of that. It has to support the vision of the life that you want.
Yes.
Otherwise, I will be pissed that I haven't reached it, obsessed with it, or discouraged.
Yes.
And like, no, I don't want any of those feelings.
No.
I don't. So like, but that doesn't mean that I'm not incredibly driven. I'm driven towards, I'm trying to make as much money as possible in 20 to 25 hours a week, because at 4:00, when the last 3 kids get off that bus, I need to be able to close my laptop soon and be like, what's going on? How is the day? Because I'm also a toddler at bedtime. So I suck at bedtime.
Yeah.
So if you want present mom moments,
right,
it's got to be from 4 to 6. Otherwise, I would like to weep because I'm so tired.
Yeah. Well, and it's so true. It's interesting as we're juggling these two sides of us, that the discipline for me, and maybe for you too, more comes to the discipline to stay focused as a mother versus a business owner.
Yeah.
And you had said in a previous podcast, and I wrote this down because I loved it so much, is that discipline is like one of the greatest forms of self-care.
Working on it. But I truly believe that.
And that is so true. And I was like, oh my God.
I know. And discipline can mean boundaries. It can mean like more rigorous schedule, because that just sounds like awful to me. But I'm also realizing that I can't do the things that I really want to do for myself without truly putting structure in my day.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. I'm still figuring that out, but I really believe that might be the case.
Yeah, that's my latest
2024
exercise.
Yes.
in discipline / self-care is going to bed.
Yeah.
And
yes, you're no longer a vampire.
Like my natural state is to just be up all night, just marking things off my list. Like this was so good when I wake up. This is done.
Right.
And as I get older, I cannot exist like that anymore.
Yes.
Just the brain fog
literally
was.
And like, have you ever had the realization, no matter what you cross off, the to-do list legitimately is never done. There's always something else. It's a new day with new things and new kids to run someplace and a new client pops in. So like, it is actually, I have tried to tell myself it's the definition of insanity to try to finish it, because it never ends.
It never ends.
Because hopefully life is still going, and that comes with to-dos.
Right.
So
That's a really good point.
I don't know. I'm still, I say these things like they're proverbs. I'm like, I'm still up until I'm not even going to tell you how late I was up last night. But I also just couldn't turn my brain off because I was excited for this. I was excited about life.
How late were you up?
I'm not telling.
Oh no.
It's really late.
Really late? Like AM? Was there an AM?
There was an AM. I know, but I was just psyched. I was like, what else is happening? I don't know. I was so happy.
Yeah.
I don't know. And like, I was tinkering in here. I don't know. You know how it is. And I also hyper focus. And then my thing is I turn into a toddler at night, but if I catch the second wind, then I'm literally up until like an ungodly hour. And that was last night. So
my routine was, I'm going to put my kids to bed.
Yeah.
I end up sleeping in their beds for an hour.
Same. Passed out cold.
And then I get up at 10. I'm ready to go. I've had my little hour nap.
I've napped.
I'm recharged for the next 6 hours. I'm good. It's terrible.
It's terrible.
And then I'm in a meeting with a client at her house the next day, and she's asking me what I think of a color, and I'm like, cannot speak because I'm so sleep deprived
and also incredibly dehydrated because I've had 17 cups of coffee.
So bad.
Literally, that's me right now. But I'm like, I don't know. I'll catch up. I like sleep is really important, and like I'm not. I never get a ton of hours of it, but I make sure that I get at least 6 or 7, and I'm like, I can function. Like, I don't know if I honestly can sleep much more than that, but regardless, I protect that like crazy,
which is good.
Yeah, except for last night. Whoopsie. But I was like, it's not like I was truly just enjoying myself. I was just hanging out. Like, you know how it is.
Our world comes alive.
It does, and you get your own thoughts and your own time. And I was just like, it's just me. Look at that. Just me. Look at that.
I know. It's pretty great.
I know. Okay. So I think when I think about, I have absolutely been obsessed with this conversation, and like my podcast producer will be like, you sent me 3 hours of conversation because I could do this all day. You are so fun to talk to. And I love your perspective on your honesty about corporate, and like the honesty with yourself to be able to be like, this is no longer me. This no longer serves me. And like your just the philosophies in life of like motherhood first, and this is how I've built my business, and this is how you build a brand. I feel like there's been so many valuable things. And I love one of the things I'm really passionate about, and like what I'm trying sort of for this brand to be is like almost like mentorship, because like that does not make me an expert. That just means I've done a lot of things. And like I love that like you have a mentor in your life who's like, write down your fears. One of the last couple questions I want to ask you, is there anything that you learned in starting your business the hard way that you wish someone had taught you, that you're like, if I could just pass these skills, like that really saved your butt? Because I mean, a lot of entrepreneurship is literally Googling, YouTubing, and figuring it out yourself.
Yeah.
Or is there like a resource that you're like, yes, this is it? Or like anything that has just made the easy button for you that anyone out there could benefit from? I got to think of one for myself. This is a really hard question.
Yeah, that is.
I know. This is a really hard question.
There's like the philosophical things, but then there's also like the nitty gritty stuff.
I honestly, the philosophical is probably even more important than the nitty gritty, because how much time do we all spend in our head? So whatever comes to mind, honestly, I think would be beneficial.
Yeah. I mean, for me, probably, my head always goes back to client service, because that's just
how you were bred.
How
you were raised.
The perfect job for a people pleaser.
Oh my God.
Service.
Yes. God, we are so similar.
And so that's just who I am, and I think who I will always be. And my biggest thing that I tell people as they're considering a job like interior design or a client service type job is, at the end of the day, it's meeting people where they are, and meaning rather than trying to get them to come to you and understand what you want them to do, it's better to meet them where they are at their level of comprehension. So I'll give you an example.
That's great.
If I'm meeting with a client and I'm looking for things like, how comfortable are they with change? Ooh. How overwhelmed do they seem?
Yeah.
Do they have anything hanging up on their walls?
Yeah.
Like I'm doing an assessment of where they are, like almost like psychologically.
Truly, because that's
when starting a project.
Yeah.
And for those clients, because there are some who, and I get it, like the idea of painting a wall, hanging a picture on the wall, it's just, the world does not help us. There's so many choices.
Truly.
And it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
And so what I mean when I say I meet them where they are, those are the clients that I'm never going to say, hang up a gallery wall or put in super complicated wainscoting.
Right. Because they're in charge of executing.
Yep. And that is so overwhelming to them that their immediate reaction to that is going to be, I'm going to try it, I'm going to mess it up, and this is going to be horrible. And so if
you don't want anyone to feel that way.
I don't want them to feel that way. And so I'm going to do things like, you need one large picture, and here's what you're going to put in it, and here is the frame you're going to use, and here's how far up from the ground it's going to be.
Oh my God.
Like,
you're like a savior.
and that differs depending on whatever client I'm working with. And so that's what I mean by, I'm not asking them to have my level of design comprehension.
Yes.
I'm working within their level of design comprehension.
I love that.
And that has made the biggest difference. And I think that applies to everything.
Truly. Meet people where they are.
Is to meet them where they are.
Oh, I love that. God, that's so good. And it truly applies to anything in life. Like, think if your kids are having a meltdown and you've just got to get out the door. Sometimes you need to just sit for a minute and meet them where they are and be like, what's going on?
Yes.
And everyone just wants to feel heard.
Right. Yeah. Right now, my 6-year-old, the only way to connect with him is if I'm playing Roblox with him.
Totally. I played Mario Kart last night. I feel you. Yeah. I love that.
And that's where he is.
Yeah.
That's where he wants to connect with me.
Yes.
So, okay. Like,
Roblox it is.
Mama Mayhem is my username.
Oh my God. It's so good. You're like, oops, designed a house of Roblox.
Sorry, guys. I'm busy.
I'm literally so good at this.
So that's just helped me a lot. Like, you don't need to come to me. I'll come to you.
Yeah.
And that tends to work the best.
I love that. And like, I think that you still have such great boundaries of what your services specifically are, that like you have the ability to be like fully invested in their emotional state, because you're like, this is exactly where I can add the value for you. And this is where it ends. Yeah. But I've set you up for success. So you've totally got this.
Yeah.
Oh, That's so lovely. And I love how you did that. Okay. One last question. And I'm asking for myself. Imposter syndrome is a real bad bee, isn't she?
Yes.
God. So you were not trained as a designer, correct?
No.
But here you are literally crushing it. I would never have guessed. Did you have any sort of like, I wasn't trained to do this, or like, but I also know you've redid your whole home and it's gorgeous, but like, did you ever have any fears at any part of your business? That was just a guess because you weren't trained and you didn't go to school for it, but like, obviously you're killing it, but how did you get over the like,
oh gosh,
right?
Yeah.
And is that a forever, like a little voice?
It's a little voice, but it used to be a very, very big voice. And
I see you.
I mean,
yeah.
In the beginning, like presenting myself as an interior designer, not having gone to interior design school.
You're like, I just took off my pantsuit.
I just stepped off the plane, you know,
kicked off my
just
heels.
Checked out of the Marriott.
Oh God, my reward points are through the roof.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yes.
Yeah. The imposter syndrome was huge. And I just remember, especially when I knew that I was up against other designers for a project who were trained.
Such a crowded space, as is every space.
And did have certification. But over time, it became, and there was one time when an interior designer sort of cornered me and was like, are you trained? Like, what's your situation?
Yeah.
I know. It's okay.
Nice.
It's okay.
It's medium okay. It's not okay. I don't like it.
Yeah. Well, they feel a little threatened, but it comes from, I think what helped me so much is I had a lot of publicity when I got started.
Yeah. Is that how you got into HGTV and Better Homes?
Well, yeah. And I had like a lot of like multiple page spreads in a bunch of Better Homes and Gardens magazines.
Yes, queen.
When I first started.
And did that just all get picked up from your blog, having such great traction? I love that.
An editor saw my work and was like, we're flying a team in from Iowa to shoot your house and we want to feature you. And
oh my God, I just got goosebumps for you.
And they picked up, that content was put in like 7 of their issues over many years. And so that in the beginning, that sort of gave me the credibility. That kind of filled in the gaps big time.
I love
the
that
credibility to say like, look, like I've got the chops.
Yes.
Like,
hell yes.
I've got some publicity, but now, so I don't need that so much because it comes from referrals.
Yeah.
And my clients, none of them, 1, know what a certification is, and 2, care about it.
Right. Literally. Just love you and love your work. Please come over.
Right. And so the imposter syndrome was big, but it goes away.
I love that. And I think that is such a, like, if people can those opportunities to gain your credibility are from being visible, and you have to be super brave to keep writing your blog and keep putting your stuff out there. And like, you can even DM magazines and publications that you want to be in and be like, I love your work. I feel like we could be a great fit. If it's not a fit, can I have some feedback? Like, and there's like, this is how you grow your business. This is how you get credibility. This is how you get seen. And like, you were so smart and just so passionate about how you showed up with your blog and how that organically happened over time. But if you just have to keep showing up.
Yes.
And like, then these opportunities come and then the referrals come. And it just, like you said, it just gets smaller and smaller, but you cannot give up on yourself.
You cannot give up. Yeah. And just, there's such a strong fear of being perceived, especially in those early years.
Yeah.
That to show up like that, like you said, it's terrifying.
Totally terrifying.
I'll tell a quick story of just the fear of being perceived and imposter syndrome. One of my first jobs, I had just started.
Yeah.
I had no designer tools.
Literally.
And I'm talking like the Sherwin-Williams, like the fan decks, the designer packs, things like samples, like none of those things I had.
Yeah.
Right. And so in the early days, what I would do to get my hands on those, because I wasn't official yet, was I was buying them off eBay.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yes, I was buying them off eBay. And even like some of the school courses that I wanted to know what they were, but I was like, I'm not going to pay for that. Like I just want to know what they were. I would post on Reddit like,
Yeah.
hey, like in the interior design forum, like, hey, like, what are the books you're using in class? And I would just go buy them on Amazon
And read them.
and read them.
Oh my God. I love
And
that.
so I just use all of these alternate routes.
Yes.
I just felt like I need to have the tools that an interior designer has.
Yes.
And I'm just going to do it in all these weird ways because I'm not doing it the traditional way.
I love that.
It's been fine.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think it worked out. I think it worked out, guys. I think it worked out. I love that story. And I think, like, just to kind of recap for those who are thinking of maybe taking the leap or thinking about taking the leap, just remember that, like, that dream on your heart is there for a reason. You can show up and do it in any way, shape, or form. It can be for fun. It can be for a side hustle. It can be a full-time. You just let it grow. Let it see what happens. Keep showing up even when you're scared. When you're scared, write it down and keep going. And I love the sort of scrappy, resourceful, like, traditional can go out the window.
Yes.
Like, just whatever feels good to you, figure it out that way,
Right.
Whether it be taking an online course. I love going on Reddit and buying things off eBay and, like, literally borrowing people's books. Do you know how many people I've DM'd and be like, how did you do that? And everyone is willing to help. Everyone.
Right.
And so I think that, like, now is the time more than ever that you can be what you want to be. And that can take shape in so many ways. And you are such an inspiration for that. And, like, now you've crushed 2 careers and made all these beautiful babies and, like, are DIYing and using power saws, and you still have all your digits for now. Right.
Yeah.
For now.
Right.
But it's just, I think you have been so fun to follow along. And, like, I think those are just such great tangible takeaways from what has been, like, such a beautiful story. I'm going to think about that Uber driver all day long. I love those moments.
His name was Mark. He was wonderful.
Mark, if you are out there,
Thank you, Mark.
Mark from Minnesota, who used to be a personal trainer. Thank you. Yeah. Look at all these beautiful homes because of you. And look how happy she is.
Yeah, truly.
I love that. Okay. I think those are, like, the best takeaways. I literally could talk to you all day long. I'm not going to let you leave the house. But where can everyone find you, follow you, work with you? Like,
yes.
Follow
me on Instagram, House by Emily May on Instagram. And truly, I'll say this: if you are local to Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, and you just want to grab coffee, if you're someone that's also facing a decision like this, just reach out. If we could meet up,
you're a gem of a human.
Truly, like, I'm happy to help.
Yes.
If I can help another corporate escapee, I'll be happy.
We will get you free.
Get you. And truly, so just message me, DM me on Instagram. That's probably the best way to reach me.
I love it. That's perfect. And, like, also follow her on Instagram because your content is just gorgeous and fun. And, like, you're just such a regular, beautiful human on there. Like, the polish is from within you. It's not the filters. It's not the, like, I love your feed isn't, like, it's just a reflection of who you are and what you're up to. And it's just the most beautiful thing. So
thank you.
Keep doing you. You're crushing it. I love how you sort of have prioritized and how you can trust that, like, it all works out. Yeah. And I don't know. I think this has been a really cool story to tell. And I know it's going to help so many people. So thank you for.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, this was really fun.
We
should do more of this.
It was fun.
Okay, awesome. Okay, well, thank you everyone for listening. Do not forget to go follow Emily. And if you ever, need advice, you can DM either of us. We are all for helping women just be whatever it is that you want to be. And whatever that looks like, it's all for you. I am not full-time. I don't know if you're full-time. No, doesn't have to be. And it can still be a full-time money-making business. You just have to stick with it and have faith and don't give up. So this has been awesome. Thank you again for everything. And if you liked this video, or if you know someone who is trying to start a business or think this might resonate with, it would be so lovely to share. But if not, just tell them, keep going. You've got this. Don't give up, because that's what we all need, is the extra encouragement. All right. Thanks everyone for listening. We'll catch you next time. Well, that's the end of this episode, but promise me, you won't stop here with whatever it is you're feeling or dreaming about. I hope you leave today feeling empowered to live life just as you see fit. If this podcast was helpful to you, it would mean the world to me if you could leave a review on whatever platform you're listening on. I genuinely just want to help women live the life they dream about. So if this type of content tracks with you, subscribe to this podcast or visit our website, writeyourownsstory.co, to download digital courses or to grab a journal and a mug to just dream in and dream with. It's your life, lady. Do you. And just remember, I'm rooting for you and you've totally got this.